Our speaker, prior to enrolling in the digital media production program at the Art Institute of Portland, Tim Adams worked as a video production assistant on a region-wide constituency report, which is a long way of saying he did work for somebody else. But he got to travel, and he went to Tanzania, and he produced video packages for worldwide satellite broadcasting. He's a young guy. While in college and refining his knowledge and skill, Tim started his own company 2 years before graduation. So, like so many of us who didn't know, unlike so many of us who had no idea what we were doing when we got out of college, Tim knew. The year was 2005, and he already knew he wanted to do his work his way and with his own unique voice, as most artists.
You had to choose that picture.
Or this one? You like this one better? Tim has a passion for media and loves telling stories. This, combined with his expertise and knowledge in media production, allows him to create visually powerful stories in any setting. Now, those of you who remember that were here the last time he spoke about video production for your websites and commercials, and how video was the next greatest thing since most read on your websites, and it still is, and he still talks about it. But we'll get to that shortly. During high school, he also began acquiring knowledge and experience working in audiovisual and in church environments. Something else we take for granted when we go and everything's up on the big screen and we read this week. You even read it in a prayer book. After 10 years working as the official technical director of the video ministry, 15 years as a live sound engineer, and 7 years as a lighting designer and lighting director, he now offers these skills to churches as a consultant. And I think we've all been in houses of worship and probably could use his expertise. Tim's knowledge of lighting and video led to a new association with NZ Lighting, a company that improves the look of things while extending the life of fixtures and reducing energy costs to them.
Thanks, Paul. For those of you who are thinking about coming up here to speak, this is what happens when you don't send Paul a bio. All right, so before we get into this, just to give you an idea of what we do at Net Zero USA Lighting Solutions. We'll come to a space like this and we'll just start counting lights. So I can tell you that these are T12 fluorescents, the most inefficient fluorescent fixture on the market. And I can tell you that just doing an initial audit in my head, I can save 50% energy savings. Straight off the top. 50. Each of these boxes is consuming 120 watts. I can replace that with 60. Get the same light output, if not better.
Now you're saying that, what if they were T1s? These are T2s, it's 2H2, if it was T1.
T12, T8, T5. Those are the three.
So are you using the same fixture that just replacing the light?
Yes. So what we do is we'll come in and we primarily do retrofit because it's cheaper. Very rarely will we come in and do a replacement. Oftentimes replacements don't pencil out as well because obviously they cost more. The incentive that you get from, in this case, Park Public Utilities is not going to be as high. Or if it is as high, again, the higher cost is going to reduce the amount of money that you see in terms of revenue or savings. So we're going to be talking about how this kind of lighting, how medical lighting, parking lot lighting, steals money from companies. Okay, how many of you guys have brick and mortar? Okay. Go. I kind of anticipated that, but that's okay, because you all, on a daily basis, have a tendency to interact with companies or organizations that have brick and mortar. Chances are they're going to have fluorescent lighting or high wattage lighting in their spaces. Okay, 86% of commercial lighting around the world are fluorescent coppers. 86%. That represents trillions of dollars that are being wasted every single day.
What's the health costs?
I'm not sure what's going on here, but I hold you responsible. All right. Yeah, weird, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, okay. See? He's responsible. All right, so how many of you guys have actually heard of the issue of a fluorescent light bulb breaks? Okay.
What is inside that? What is that black goo that comes out of
Blue.
the
Yeah, all you need to know is it's bad. Now, most of that is because it has mercury. All right? What's that? Mercury. I'm not saying that the black goo is mercury. I'm just saying that it has mercury in it. That's why it's so hazardous. And if you really want to get some exciting reading, go look up the cleanup procedures for broken fluorescent lighting. It's downright scary. Okay, a simple, oh, I'm just going to vacuum. No. If you break it and shards of that glass and that fixture, that lamp go onto your rug, you're better off throwing the rug out and getting a new one. It's that difficult to clean up. And there's a reason that they say that it's basically hazardous material. I mean, that's the level of cleanup that you're talking about. So that's a very big safety consideration when you think about 86% lighting above our heads, regardless of where we go, contains that. And what was it about Congress a number of years ago saying CFLs were safer, better? All right, how many of you guys, I shouldn't even have to ask this, bad ballasts, you get that T12 ballasts are known for that, where the flickering when the lamp is going out. Anybody get headaches from that?
Well, just fluorescent exposure alone can cause a huge decrease in energy because of it.
I'm not sure they can hear you.
Oh, I was saying just constant fluorescent exposure alone can really shift people's hormones and endocrine systems and cause fatigue and energy waste and headaches and all kinds of stuff.
I'm not sure if there's a study that has gone through the loss of productivity, but it's pretty significant. Dr. Murray, can you comment?
Well, I just had a patient who had to go on disability because she could not walk into her work environment because of the fluorescent lights and cell phones. She literally cries. She breaks out in rashes all over her body and lung pain and all sorts of other things. And she's in extreme, but people are experiencing that at lower levels and don't realize how much the electromagnetic frequencies in the fluorescence are affecting us.
How many of you guys remember, I think it was the last year or so, within the last 2 years, the screens on here, all those studies came out and said the blue light keeps you awake at night. So, I'm not sure what Android came out with, but I know Apple came out with their day shift or night shift. Takes the blue frequencies out, it's supposed to help. I noticed that when I did it on my phone, that seemed to help. But, blue light wavelengths that we get from these, okay, so I'm a video guy. That's my training, right? So when we put a camera up under fluorescence, it's either going to shift towards blue or green, all right? And we learned a long time ago about this thing called white balance and color temperature and how it all makes a difference. In here, we call this a cool white, right? It looks bluer, okay? So the color temperature, what I'm talking about is there's a spectrum called the Kelvin spectrum, named after the guy who created it, or discovered it, whatever. So it basically mimics, it takes the color spectrum, okay, from red to violet, okay, because outside of that you have ultraviolet, infrared, right? So the visible spectrum, and it assigns temperatures to them in degrees Kelvin, okay? The lower the number, the redder the light, right? Red. Up here, violet, blue, okay? The cooler the temperature, the bluer the light, okay? And that is, a higher degree. So sunlight would be like 5,600 degrees Kelvin. If you're incandescent, warm, 2,700 to 3,500 degrees Kelvin. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So people tend to like higher color temperature because it appears brighter, because it's closer to the sun, right? Well, the sun is full spectrum. It's actually producing all of that light spectrum, visible and invisible, right? It's just like when we shoot a camera outside and it's balanced for inside, incandescent, it looks blue outside. Okay, that's where we get that. But I can take a 3,500 degree light, put it right next to a 50 or 5,000 degree light, same wattage, everything. Perceptually, the 5,000 degree light is going to appear brighter, but if I measure it, it's exactly the same. Perception is very, very important. So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes in terms of, you know, like Dr. Marine said, and like you pointed out, that our bodies are being, you know, subjected to that we have no idea about, right? So it's important that we figure out how that is affecting us, because this is important for your overall health, correct?
Very important.
All right, moving on. All right, we're all familiar with LEDs save energy, right? We've all heard that. And where we come in is our particular company, we usually save 40 to 70%. Okay, in this room, 50%. There's a retirement community down in Portland that we just audited, that's 47.7%. I've seen as high as 72%. Wasn't my project. But it's very important to understand here, if you're a business owner and you see a number like that, you're like, oh, my power bill is going to go down by up to 70%. No, the lighting portion of your power bill is going to go down by that percentage. Okay, it's very important to distinguish the two. However, if you have, you know, high wattage lamps, this is also going to affect your power bill. Okay, and depending on the size of your building, lighting can be a very significant percentage of your power bill. I've got a hospital down in Portland. It's got a $19,000 a month power bill. I think you might be interested in talking to somebody like me.
So do you replace the fluorescent with an LED type of?
So there are a couple options. What we do is, and I'll explain why we do this in one of the next slides, but what we do is we gut everything. Basically, we leave the shell. Okay, we take out the ballast, we take out the lamps, we take out what they call the tombstone, that's what the lamps sit in. Okay, and depending on the solution, we'll either take our LED strips and we'll screw them in. So in this case, we screw them in because they're over people. But we also have a magnetic solution that just clips in. That has a wire lead that goes to an LED driver. Okay, and it's important that the LEDs are separate from the driver, and I'll explain that again in a minute. A lot of our competition is just direct replacement, what we call TLEDs, tube LEDs. Again, I'll get to that in a minute as to why you don't want to do that. Yeah, it's the next slide. So everybody likes LEDs because they can last so long. Okay, no ballast to replace, no buzzing or flickering, no lifts to rent or ladders to climb. Those of you insurance people, liability, because maybe the maintenance guys don't always follow OSHA regulations when they're working.
And along those lines, the LEDs are either on or they're off.
Yes,
There's no warm up, there's no flickering, they're either working or they're not.
they're instant. Do we all understand how LEDs work? This is actually really kind of fun. All right, so we're accustomed to light being created by some material, be it gas, usually, being energized by an electric current, okay? LEDs are very different. They're solid state. There's no gas, there's no moving parts, very safe, very solid. LEDs create what we would recognize as continuous light by turning on and off so quickly our eyes can't see it. Okay? So, how many of you guys have taken out an incandescent bulb at home and replaced it with an LED? How many of you have put that into a circuit that has a dimmer on it? How many of you have had bad experiences with the LED? Like flickering, okay. The reason for that is because incandescent lamps are voltage dimmable, okay? Now they're starting to come online with voltage dimmable LEDs, and they just handle it inside the fixture. But because LEDs are on or off, they require pulse width modulation dimming, okay, PWM. What that does is it changes the frequency of that on-off cycle. To our eyes, it appears that the light is getting dimmer.
A traditional light bulb on a panel that has a dimmer switch, you need to buy a special dimmable LED bulb. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Now we have dimmable options, but a lot of people are just ignorant. You know, it's not to say they're stupid, they just don't know.
Uneducated.
There you go. They're uneducated. So that's part of why I'm here, is to educate. All right, so that maybe you have that aha moment of, oh, that's why that does that. Okay.
Tim, in medical examining rooms, are those lights, are they LEDs? Would a dentist be using an LED when he's looking?
In that arm?
Yeah.
They can. Generally, that's going to be some kind of an arc source light because it's so bright. It's probably 500 watts would be my guess, or higher. And so you have the light bulb mounted sideways, and then you have some kind of a parabolic reflector that focuses that light down where it needs to be.
Yeah, usually they're xenon.
I'm sorry?
Usually they're xenons.
Yeah, xenons. LEDs are a different beast. And the reason for that is because they're very directional already. They shine light in one direction, right? And so something like this, so you see this grid that we have? In fluorescence, we call that a parabolic reflector. And the reason is because it's designed to focus the light down, okay? Well, the thing with the fluorescent tube is that it's 360-degree illumination, right? So you're losing a lot of that light because it's just going up there and getting absorbed, and some of it's coming back down because it's diffusing off the inside of the light shell, but you're losing a lot of efficiency there. Whereas LEDs, just go straight. And yes, obviously there's a reflector, but it's not shining in all directions, right? You can get LEDs that do that. They call them corn cobs because they look like corn cobs. But yeah, I would be careful with that. Okay, they require DC power. Okay. Conversion from AC to DC creates heat. All right, heat is bad. 10 degrees over max operating temperature, an LED loses 50% of its life. 50%. Another 10 degrees, another 50%. So now you're at 25% of your anticipated lifespan. Anybody had LEDs dying on them? Did you spend a lot of money on those LEDs?
No.
Well,
Took it back to Costco.
oh, there you go.
There's light.
So thermal management is critical. All right, so back in 2015, there was a major recall. Okay, major manufacturer, we're talking GE, Slovenia, cleared the shelves of tube LEDs because of overheating and spark hazards. Okay, these are those direct replacement tube LEDs, right? Now, the reason they were overheating is because there's no place for the heat to go. The driver, the LEDs, everything is in that little tube. Okay? So if the heat is being generated, contained in this tube, yes, some of it's going to radiate up back into the fixture, which then pushes it back down. right? Now, I don't know about you, but if my LEDs are getting so hot that they're failing, that also means I have a potential fire hazard over my head in my building. Okay, so that's why the recall just happened. GE just announced another recall in the last 2 weeks of a very particular one of their tube LEDs, but that was a shock hazard. So people apparently were grabbing one end when they're putting them in. The tube gets energized and it shocks their hand that's holding the other end. So,
They're so damn, why do they keep making them if they keep having such bad problems with them?
because they're cheap. And people like me can't get the information out fast enough so people don't look at that. Now, the other reason that they are so popular is because they're user serviceable. Me as the maintenance guy, I can go down to Plaid Electric, and instead of buying T8 replacement tubes, I can just buy LEDs, and they're better, right? Plaid doesn't care, yeah, some do. Because, you know, the 21-year-old behind the counter doesn't know anything. He just knows, well, I need to sell more of this, so. And the other thing with the traditional distribution model is that you're paying for at least 3 levels of commission. Okay, you've got the manufacturer's rep, you've got the distributor, you've got the dealer, and they're all putting their own markup on it, so it might be cheap, but when you get down to what the manufacturer's cost is, do you really want cheap? So for me, I'm all about value. What's the overall value that I'm bringing to the table versus price? If my customer is only focused on price, they're not going to be my customer. If you win on price, you're going to lose on price. Bottom line. Questions? Yes.
You're talking a lot about a commercial, and I know that's probably where you're going to stay right now, but can you integrate a little bit of the consumer wanting to change light bulb from
Yeah, so-
from incandescent to LEDs?
Yeah, so you're talking about the, what we call medium screw base, E26, you know, just the simple things. We have had pretty good luck with some of the newer models that have come out into like Home Depot and that kind of thing. And the reason for that is because they're starting to integrate thermal management. There's some kind of a heat sink in there. You don't want to touch the bulb where the heat sink is. So there is a particular bulb, so you've got a frosted white dome, and then you've got like a ceramic neck, okay, and then you've got the screw base. Those are the ones I recommend, because that ceramic is going to radiate heat out. Where you run into trouble is if you have a sealed environment where there's no place for the heat to go. So like a recessed can light with a lens on it, okay? In that kind of environment, if you can't take the lens out, it's better to replace the fixture, because they have ones that will mimic that look, if you like the aesthetic. But the back end of it will be open to radiate the heat out into the open space. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can.
In replacing those recessed lights from a spot to an LED, do you have that ceramic fixture on it?
Well,
And you still have to look at the spot? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, if you want the spot, then you're not likely going to have a lens on the front. It's going to be open face.
Yeah, it's open face.
Yeah, so if it's open face, just go with one of the ceramic screw in the lens. Because it should be
I
a
mean,
direct.
you make spots with that ceramic in it instead of just.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to be looking for an R30, a par 30, par 38.
Oh, slow down.
Here, when I took all the incandescents out of my apartment and replaced them at that point with the compact fluorescents, my electric bill went down 30%.
There's a compact fluorescent.
The spiral fluorescent bulb, if you're going from
If you
incandescent,
don't want that look, then what are you gonna do with it?
well, then you're gonna go to LED.
Well, you don't want fluorescence, so.
Well, I understand. I'm saying 3-4 years ago when I was still in my apartment, I converted everything from incandescent to
Right.
compact fluorescent. I have since gone from compact fluorescent LED. And you talk about those that have a lens on them, if you will. Home Depot, Lowe's, they have something, you unscrew the light bulb. You screw in this and it goes up into the can, and it looks like it's,
Yeah, and it's
I know
it's
what-
lower, so there's enough space to
I
vent
was
the
just
heat.
wondering about the spot itself, just the light fixture itself. the spot itself. That's what you're,
Yeah.
that's what you're, or aiming off, just a few minutes.
Right. All right, I got 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna power through here. So why do we find cheap options? Well, because Chinese manufacturers are flooding the market, because they know LEDs are popular, right? They also know that cheap LEDs are extremely popular. Okay, the problem is if you buy LEDs off Amazon, Alibaba, a place online and they're super cheap, what happens when those, you have an issue with those? Who do you call? With Amazon, it's kind of easier because they got relatively good customer service. But how much of a hassle is it to go and place all these lights, and then you have to take them back down, package them back up, ship them back, and Amazon actually of late has made it a little more difficult. Instead of giving you a label, you have to go to their Amazon store, give them the package, and then they'll ship it back for you. That's been my experience. It depends on the seller, but heat kills LEDs. Warranties. This is really important. Anybody can come into a place of business and say, oh yeah, I'll give you a 10-year warranty. What they're not going to tell you is that it's prorated. Okay, so if you spend, or if the business decides, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a new LED lighting system, 6 years down the road, they start failing, they're going to call the sales guy and be like, hey, we need you to do a warranty thing. And they're going to be like, oh, great. Do their little calculation. Yeah, it's going to be another, how many lights are out? It's going to be another $4,000. What? But I already spent, well, yeah, that's prorated, okay? So understand the warranty that comes with the product. And I don't know of any other company other than ours that even talks about performance guarantees. Okay, what that means is if it says 40 watts, when you put a multimeter on it to measure it, it's 40 watts or below. It's not 60 watts. Okay, there's a story from our company in the Midwest, huge contract. So big that the company, the client was like, okay, we're going to give you, Net Zero, and this other competitor, 3 stores in 3 different states. Swap everything out, and we're, see how it goes. 2 months after the swap out, they started testing the lights. We put in 40-watt fixtures, they measured 36 watts. The competitor put in 60-watt fixtures, and they measured 102. Big difference. If you don't guarantee that, if you don't have a guarantee, you have no recourse, really, back at the company, right? Oh, here we go. My little plug. All right, I'm a direct manufacturer rep. We control the manufacture, distribution, installation. Okay? No other company offers that. We have a 0.003% failure rate. We have 5, 7, 10-year full-term non-prorated warranties. Depends on the product that we put in. Is why there's a difference there. Okay? So if we put in a 7-year warranty product and the month before the warranty is up, something fails, it gets replaced. Simple as that. We do have a performance guarantee. We'll fix your types and color temperature options. We have wireless control and dimming. We're actually working with Home Depot to make a custom fixture for their stores nationwide. Retrofit is cheapest. Replacement is next, and we do have new construction, and your lighting on it is free. We don't charge any money for that. Questions?
Could you make a connection between the commercial and the residential, if it's possible, with those points you just made?
Yeah, I think so. Residential, you're not going to find this level of service or product because the profit margin for the manufacturers just isn't there. So that does not mean that any of this stuff is non-applicable, okay? But my goal today was to help open your eyes as to some of the important considerations that should be in your head when you're looking at LED, be it consumer or commercial, okay?
So Peter could put LED, replaces his fluorescents in his garage with LEDs. Anybody who has a finished basement and has a dozen of these down there, are they able to get those from you, or do they have to go through a commercial outlet, a Home Depot, Lowe's, etc.?
No, they can get those through me. What separates commercial and residential is use, hours of use, okay? So unless you're down in a basement that has 12 fixtures and you're down there 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, the use case, this is never going to pay for itself.
I would say the payback would be longer. It
Right.
also depends on part of the country. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Based on the kilowatt hour charge, and out here we have relatively low power
Very
areas.
low.
So that makes your job a little more difficult, certainly.
Yeah.
I see Maureen got a question.
Just had a question regarding full spectrum, the fluorescent LEDs, and how that fits into this efficiency.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I did indeed forget to mention that. Full spectrum is important, and there are varying definitions of full spectrum. So what I would do is the UL, United Laboratories, is the rating organization for pretty much anything electrical in this country. And they have standards for lights. Okay, there's 3 different standards. I don't remember them all. One's certified, one's... I just looked it up last week, but I did a 5-hour training workshop for audiovisual yesterday, so my brain's a little fried. But yeah, I would look it up on there. Our LEDs are full spectrum. I can't tell you that. Our chips are Samsung or Philips.
Will it say on the packaging if it's full spectrum?
It should. And because there's so many definitions, what does that mean? That's why I go by the UL, because it's a standard.
So I'm an artist and I have my studio in a 3-car garage. And I purchased the regular garage fixture, the fluorescent tube fixtures in 2014. And we remodeled the space.
Sure.
And so is there a particular, I wanted to make natural daylight as much as possible. So I was buying 55K fluorescent tubes.
Sure.
And those be replaced with a decent fluorescent that can give me a combination of warm and blue light? Or would I have to purchase new fixtures?
Yeah, see, that's the thing with fluorescents. You get either or. Whereas LEDs, you can get variable white. So you can really dial it in between, say, 3,000 and 6,000, which is really
Kim, did you
nice.
bring some cards in?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
Yeah, over there.
All right, I'll grab your card.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys, I'm out of time.
I just have one